Left jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best, you gotta show me son. Actions over words, baby boy, is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come back. Sports, talking way too much, world come back. Sports, talking way too much, world come back. Sports,
Hey, shout out and good morning to the hottest chat in the MF game. Appreciate y'all for being patient. Salute to everyone that's on their way to the building. You know how Fridays get. You know, you got things you gotta make sure you take care of with the fam. But interesting topic. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure you heard already that I've spoken on this topic, wishing that, you know, Norman Jr. and his Norman Jr. was able to get the ball rolling with a rivalry. You know what I'm saying? I speak up situations without, you know, it being a deterrent all the time, because a lot of hocus pocus that we see in boxing, man, it's the same shit all the time. Like you see the news out there, and then it goes away. It end up being false. It's not even close to what you was reading. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to hear, before I get into this audio with Matchroom, I want you to hear some audio right quick. I want you to hear this article right quick before I get into the Matchroom audio. It says Hearn's fortune offer rejected by Norman Jr. Okay, when I was listening to this, right, and Norman Sr. came on Mark Nash's platform, and he was explaining the situation, right? But I'm gonna get to that after this article. It says Hearn's fortune offer rejected by Norman Jr. for Ennis fight. You know, that kind of dampened the spirits a little bit. But boxing is a business. It says promoter Eddie Hearn was furious on Thursday, having failed to negotiate a unification deal for his recently signed fighter, IBF welterweight champion Jerron Boots Ennis, to face WBO champion Brian Norman Jr. The approximately $1.5 million offer that Hearn floated to Norman, 26-0, 20 knockouts, was rejected by his team. Hearn says the $1.5 million he offered Norman was a fortune, and he thinks he's foolish for having turned it down. Hearns can't be serious by believing that small sum is a fortune. If he really believes that he has respect for Norman Jr.'s potential, he believes that Norman 23 would never see that kind of money for the remainder of his career. If Hearn hadn't been so Scrooge, McDuck-like, he would have given Norman Jr. the $2 million or whatever he was asking for, because Ennis need those belts to take his career to the next level. Hearns needs to consider it an investment instead of focusing on the short-term profit. It says Boots Ennis will now defend against his IBF mandatory on November 9th in Philadelphia. Hearns mentioned that Boots might vacate the IBF title to concentrate on fighting other guys, but then he changed his mind. saying he might go ahead and fight against. So the cost of missed opportunities. They want to talk about the cost of missed opportunities. Boy, I'm gonna fire this shit. Boots doesn't want to fight at 154. Okay, this is where it gets to the magical boxing when it comes to the business. All the freaking what they call it, the rigmarole, the rhetoric, the propaganda. He say, "Hey, Boots don't want to fight at 154, so he's not going to give up his IBF title." Fighting Chudikin again will hurt Ennis' popularity. This is Boxing News 24. Stunning it badly, and it could have been avoided if Hearn had been so close-fisted in his negotiations with Norman. He'd have to fight for Ennis. Norman, he'd have to fight for Ennis. Hold up. Close-fisted in his negotiations with Norman. He'd have that fight for Ennis, and his popularity would have gone through the roof if he won. The fight would the fight would be incredibly entertaining with Boots and Norman's going to war, trading bombs, in what would be a fun fight to watch. I'm gonna stop it right there for a minute. Listen, it was so many people that was looking for this fight for one reason and one reason only. If you eliminate their resume and you go off the potential of this collision course, two champions unifying the 147-pound division, it's absolutely a lot. It's so much excitement and anticipating on what the fight could potentially be, who can knock who out. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what we want to see. Granted, like I said before, Norman has, his last fight, in which it was extremely entertaining. And, you see fights like that, you say, damn, that was a war that he had with Giovanni Santillan, right? That was a war while it lasted. It went into the 10th round, fist to fist, punch for punch, mono, tit for tat. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in the middle of the ring. And then you see the fight with Boots and what he had with Ramon Villa. You know what I'm saying? Ramon Villa coming off the momentum he had with Rashidi Ellis. And he was tailor-made for Boots. So, Boots went in there and got the stoppage. So with the backstory set, the backstory is set. We don't need no more promo. We don't need anything. You're talking about a so-called, how do you want to call it? At one time, they was called him prospect. You know what I'm saying? And then, I was like, well, if Norman's a prospect, Ennis a prospect too with all those fights. If you have over 20 plus fights, you're not a prospect no more. I say if you have 15 or more fights, you're not a prospect no more. That's just what it is. But everything we was looking for this fight is set to spark up the 147-pound division. Now, I've told people back in the past about how Eddie Hearns do business. Eddie Hearns, took Ennis into the cradle, put him in the barn and, did all the promo, clout chase Crawford's name. But now all of a sudden, T. Norman is like, okay, this is the deal. You keep saying you're the king of the division, but we here now. You can pretty much stop talking about Crawford. You can talk about me. You know what I'm saying? That's the fight that need to be made. So some numbers was thrown out there. There's some numbers that was thrown out there. You heard about the 1.5. Let me know what you think about that. And I'm about to tell you why the 1.5 being rejected wasn't such a bad thing after all. Because you think about it, you have Top Rank and you have Matchroom. 1.5, and you got to pay your people, and you got to and you have to put taxes in there. What did I say? What did I always say about Teofimo Lopez? Y'all can't be mad at what Norman Team Norman has done. They want to walk up out of there with $1 million plus in their pockets for a fight of that magnitude in the backyard of Ennis. In the freaking backyard of Ennis. You want to give 1.5 and they walk up out of there with less than $1 million? This is a big time fight. The youngest world champion in boxing right now, stepping in there with Ennis in his backyard. Let's see. Let's get down to what Eddie Hearns had to say.
One thing I do want to ask you, since we're stateside, I guess it makes sense. Boots Ennis.
Yeah.
Last time we spoke, you talked about reaching out to Norman's team and looking to make that fight. What is the latest update?
Do you know what? It's frustrating because you hear everything that Brian Norman Sr. or his daddy's saying, and none of it really makes sense. Like if this is a really simple situation. The first offer that was made to Brian Norman was nicely over $1 million. They said that they felt that, not insulting, but was nowhere near. We've made 2 more offers, $250,000 every time now, to levels that Brian Norman will never see. And it's like, we keep getting told we're close, then we go back and make another offer, and then we're told by his team that we're actually not that close. And I start to think, Brian Norman, do you want this fight, or are you clout chasing, or as the others might say over here, cap, or whatever it is?
Not sure if that works, but
Not sure it is either. But it's like, do you want to be great, Brian Norman? Like, not being funny. Who is Brian Norman? I know Brian Norman's a good fighter.
Okay, so he said, do you want to be great? You have to understand Eddie Hearns. He's the best at what he does. He's one of the best out there, regardless of how people feel about him. This man can turn those faces around and around and around on the freaking carousel. Seriously, he can give you more than the yin and the yang, goddammit. He said, who is Brian Norman and does he want to be great? The last time I checked, it wasn't nobody great on Jerron Boots and his freaking resume. It wasn't nobody great. Real talk. So the same can be said about Norman. So if they're jostling for a position, right? Jockeying for a position. And neither one of them have a great name on their resume. What is Eddie Hearns talking about? Does Norman want to be great? Boots haven't proven to be great. He fought Avanesian and been stopped twice already. Is Avanesian just based off his EBU considered to be great? No, we're not going to do that. Are we looking at the last performances and who do we want to see more? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying I have to continue to bring that up there because Jerron Ennis, he didn't wow the crowd. Like the walkout was more exciting than him going in there becoming a nutcracker, just in time for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So he was supposed to go in there and stun on Avanesian, the same fighter that they crapped on when Crawford was fighting him. But yet, I'm going to tell you straight up, Norman them negotiating upwards of $2 million was superb. The reason why it was a smart move, because Teofimo Lopez did the same thing. And he was signed the top rank. So it's a problem when he do it. It's a problem when Norman do it. T.O. did it. T.O. was sitting around 1.2 and what they were saying, we're not going to walk up out of here with $1 million. We need to get that. And he stood firm on that shit. He stood firm on it. And he ended up getting about $2 million or more when he fought Lomachenko. Now, Lomachenko could be considered to be a fighter that's even in a higher position. 2-time gold medalist, 3-division world champion, unified at 135 at that point. It was a lot more leverage that Lomachenko had than Boots. Boots is no Lomachenko. So I got to stand on mine and say, you have to start somewhere. Just like when I was rocking with T.O. hard, I said T.O. has to start from somewhere. He's taking these 2 fights and he's raising the bar. He's taking his fight with Richard Comey to get the chip, which happened to be at IBF. And then he took his moment to say, I'm going to negotiate higher. You know what I'm saying? With Lomachenko. So he got that, went in there and won. What he did, he went to purse bid with George Camboso. That was with Triller. It kind of fell out the pot, but you know where I'm at with it. So to see Team Norman say the same thing, like, look, it's business sense for us to raise the bar and come in around $2+ million, because when you pay taxes and you pay your people and everything, the whole point is for Norman to take maximum advantage of this opportunity at a young age to walk out of that Philly arena with $1 million in his pocket, $1 million+ in his pocket. There's nothing wrong with that, man. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good business sense right there.
But no one knows who Brian Norman is. We're giving you a bucket load of money and an opportunity for you to unify the division against, in my opinion, one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Now, you
see how Eddie be talking that bullshit, bro? Eddie Hearn said one of the top pound for pound fighters. Man, stop it. You don't know what he is until he faced the competition that is in his division. Stop the cap, man. You are up here promoting. Look, that's your fighter. If Boots wasn't your fighter, you'll say, who's Boots? We have signed Brian Norman Jr. and he's the best pound for pound fighter. You know, he would have been up there hyping up Norman Jr. the same exact way he doing Boots. But he's gonna say Boots is pound for pound. Man, you're not even on the radar. The beacon is not even sounding out. Beep, beep, nothing. You're not even on the radar for being pound for pound. So you and Norman is pretty much leveling up. You balance the scales pretty much equally right now. And you both champions. It's not any real, you know what I'm saying, 2 to 3 fights that we can look at and say, you know, so and so has did this in their career and fought these people right here. And we're not talking about no Lippin yet, see, that moved up from 140. And then, of course, Brian trying to get his big name. Both of these fighters are somewhat on level playing field. All we need is for the money to be right. And they have to Sunday. But the Normans shouldn't feel no type of way about Eddie Hearns doing what the hell he do. He's a mouthpiece. He's going to say, who are you? You know what I'm saying? Who are you? Nobody knows him. Well, the same can be said for Jaron Ennis. In between fights, nobody knows where he at, what he has going on, who he is, and anything. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm playing the advocate. Boxing always has to have some drama to tag us along. I always use puppetizing the consumers. If they want to bring this drama, you know, and play hardball, let's see if it sticks all the way to Sunday. Let's see if Eddie Hearn sticks, because why not negotiate at 23 years old with your first chip to come up out of there with $1 million in your pocket, to basically set the bar. This is what I was paid on this night, and then this where I intend to go after. See, one thing about Hearns, he probably don't care, but the Normans already have a business sense anyway. He already has his own business. So it's not like he's struggling from payday to payday, and he's out there, you know, doing backflips on the corner with a hat in his hand to my, hey, we'll flip for food. That's not the case. So when you bring them into the conversation when it comes to the money aspect of boxing, yeah, I think they should negotiate, because it's a range. This is what I was trying to tell people. It's a range for fighters who haven't been on pay-per-view. It's a range that they have, a scale that they have. You know what I'm saying? They want to keep it within the 1.5 or below. You know what I'm saying? They don't really care what you got going on in your personal life. They just know, you know, if you ain't been on pay-per-view, neither of these fighters have been on pay-per-view. It's a range that they have. So if you're able to get the $2 million range, kudos to you. You know what I'm saying? Because you just broken outside that range that they say that, okay, if somebody hasn't had a pay-per-view outing yet, we should pay them from zero, you know, for $1 up to 1.5 or whatever the range is. I know it's not up to 2 million. You know what I'm saying? So let's continue to hear what Eddie Hearns have to say.
Say Boots is overrated. You say he's not the bogeyman. Then why wouldn't you take this bucket load of money to prove that you're the best welterweight in the world? So let's just stop with the interviews online. We've gone back 3 times now with more money, to a point, like, with all due respect to Brian Norman, he shouldn't be making this kind of money.
See, Eddie's just being selfish now, talking about what he shouldn't be doing. But he didn't say that about Teofimo Lopez, though. If you look at it, Teo is in the same position as Ennis, except Teo actually beat Comey in the ring. So both of these fighters are in the same position. Like I said, Norman and Ennis is in the same position that Teofimo was when he fought when he fought Comey. Teo wasn't on no pay-per-view. The only thing he had did was beat Masayoshi Nakatani in a title eliminator. He wasn't on no pay-per-view. And then him and Lomachenko ended up fighting on free. He wasn't on pay-per-view. So why shouldn't someone else go about their business and replicate the same thing? It's money at the end of the day. Eh, Look, everybody want to talk about it's boxing business, right? Until it come down to do business. You know what I'm saying? It's boxing business until it comes down to do business. Why can't it be boxing business all the time? Hey, it's boxing business until you start negotiating the numbers. Why can't it be boxing business all the time? When it's come to the understanding, like, this is what I want and this is what I want. Eddie's been a long time. He's been in there. His pop, he's a made man. His pops was in the game, Barry Hunter. I mean, come on, this is nothing. This is nothing new. Hold on for a second, y'all.
But we're ready and we're prepared to pay him it. And then we get told, oh, you're miles off. It's like, we just saw an interview with this guy saying we're right close. We've just gone back with another $250,000, and now you're telling us we're miles away. So I don't believe the bullshit of Brian Norman and the team. If you want the fight, you would have taken the fight. And now, we're in a situation situation where the IBF, which is absolutely ridiculous, has ordered Trudezian to fight
The rematch.
The rematch. Listen, the kid's a good fighter. Boots has already beaten him. The IBF have got to stop with this. They're ruining boxing by ordering fights.
Me another great episode of Breaking Beats. You already know what it is. A lot of people are speaking out of turn in this. They've never seen that many zeros.
Never seen six, mother. Never seen $100,000. You talking about motherfucking $1 million? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Fuck are you talking? Never seen $60,000. You talking about $100,000? I mean, you talking about 1 point something million dollars and what we should have took. You don't tell us what the fuck we should have took.
But also too, I don't think people don't understand. Like, let's say we just gonna say hypothetical. Hypothetical. Right. Okay. Right. Hypothetical. Let's say it's 1.5, like the rumor was, right? If it was hypothetical. People don't understand. Brian Norman Jr. does not walk out that ring with 100.
Won't even take home $1 million.
Won't even take home.
Won't even take home $1 million.
If you
unacceptable under those circumstances.
Right now, without that, this Boots fight, you guys, Top Rank has some good opponents for you. I'm guessing, correct?
Correct.
And you guys are.
That brings the exact same belt. You got people when I say he bring the same thing as Boots did tomorrow, man, he put belts in the seat. Yeah, in Philadelphia, motherfucker. That's part of the problem. It's in Philadelphia. You can make this fight and you can make it in Vegas or you can make it somewhere on neutral ground and we won't ask for so much money. We're going to enemy territory. We got to be well compensated for going to enemy territory for doing it. Like, what the fuck is this? You get what I'm saying?
No.
You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Their legacy is pretty much equal at this point. Both guys have a title that they got because Terrence Crawford left the division.
That's a good point. That's just what I said earlier. Their legacy is pretty much equal, leveled out, right? Leveled out. And when you hear Norman Sr. talk about, yeah, they go and, we're going in enemy territory, and Eddie Hearn's trying to stack the card. One thing I know for sure, if that fight card happens, it's going to be over there. The house is going to be packed. Furthermore, the ticket prices is going to be higher than what they was when he fought David Avanesian. It's going to be very solid sales. It should sell out the house. But the difference is going to be that Boots won't be in there with David Avanesian. More people are going to see these two black fighters collide because deep down inside, they're going to start, going over here to Box Rec, and they're going to be looking, they're going to go to YouTube, and they're going to say, hey, let's check out this Giovanni fight. And then they're going to look at the Avanesian fight, the Giovanni fight, Avanesian, Giovanni. And they're going to say, damn, this is going to be a hell of a fight right here. Okay, let me see the record. Okay, both fighters are pretty much, just like Mark just said, their legacies are pretty much balanced out. So they pretty much on the same playing field, but yet they're coming into your backyard. And Boots need a Norman Jr. right now. Real talk. He needs a Norman Jr. Norman Jr. needs a Boots. But when it comes down to saying this, okay, when do I play hardball? When do I play hardball with the business? When do I begin to play hardball? I gotta play hardball sooner or later. Sometimes it will be people that say, well, that was a duck. Okay, that was a duck. Okay, let me tell you what would be a duck. Some of us looking at 1.5 and they say, I never had that money before, but why don't Norman just take it just to get the opportunity to get the belt? Then you have to go back to what was originally just said. Their legacy is pretty much balanced out equally. When it comes to it, it's just the fight potentially will be in Boots' hometown. So if you have these individuals saying, well, it's a duck because he didn't take the 1.5. Well, look at it this way. If they're on leveling playing fields, you know what I'm saying? And he's not going in there with the Terrence Crawford. He's not going in there with the Errol Spence, fighters who was on the pound for pound list. Norman's not going in there with a pound for pound fighter. He's not going in there with somebody who's been on the list, received Fight of the Year, a fighter that's already unified the division. He's not going in there with that individual. This is not the same as Spence coming to fight Sean Porter. Spence fighting Yordenis Ugas, and he already has the IBF and the WBC title. This is not the case. This is not the case at all. This is two fighters damn near on the same playing field, and one that has to go over the enemy territory. You know, they want upwards of $2 million, level it out or more, which is fair. Because at the end of the day, for a fight of that magnitude, you want to feel good about being compensated for the work that you about to put in somebody else's backyard. But I know I'm hearing it already. You know that, you know, they saying it's a duck and should have been this, that, and the other. Well, you need to go back down to some lower divisions on what they turned down. Ask them why they turned down the millions, a couple of $1 million. You know what I'm saying? Ask them why they turned down a couple of $1 million. See, let's not bring Frank Martin into the equation. Don't do that. That has nothing to do with this. Him turning down Shakur Stevenson and waiting and taking another fight and then getting to, hey, he has a plan, but he wasn't champion. Norman's a champion. Boots is a champion. And I think it's only right for negotiations, you know, maybe between close to 10:30 a.m. on a Friday and Sunday, something happened.
Didn't get Terrence Crawford. That's not
Tremendous counter puncher, great body puncher. Power he does not have. He does not have it. I mean, my fucking man, I was drooling. I wanted that word. So serious. Still want it. Still want it.
You might be the only person I heard say that about Boots and his power is something you don't have. Most people
and again,
how big he
is.
See, another thing, people kind of, you know, bedazzled of all the freaking, you know what I'm saying, display and showboating. And when somebody's showboating and they're hitting fighters, right? And you see a fighter that won't stay down, or you don't see the damage being played out in front of you, somebody might say, oh man, I don't think they have power. And the person, you know, norming them, the person who's saying he don't have no power, it's up to them to go in there and prove that they have power more than he possesses, and I'm going to break you down just like I did Giovanni. Prove the shit. Really, it's up to them to prove it. This is what it is. This is who I am. I done seen one thing I can attest without saying, okay, I was on the outside looking in. I've seen several situations where Norman was sparring, and it's almost like the old days in Georgia where, you know, all the pit bulls were chained up to a motherfucking chain in the backyard. You know what I'm saying? And the motherfucker was mean as shit. That's the only thing I can say when it comes to sparring with Norman. I mean, I've seen him spar several times. So I can speak on, you know, how his mentality is when it comes to sparring. Yes, him and Boots had sparring, and they said what they said. But this fight that would be in Boots' backyard is not going to be sparring. But what I can say is dude has power. I know I go without 100. I mean, nothing less than 100% that I'll say Norman has more power than Boots. Now, Boots had a flash. You know what I'm saying? He has the flash. But at the end of the day, you see some of his opponents, they still standing. Avanesian was dropped. I mean, what happened to sealing the envelope and shipping it off? Put the stamp on him to get the fuck out of here. Close down the show. You drop him and he still gets up and dance a little bit more. And then the doc, okay, back up. Is you're up, doc. Go in there and act like he has issues. You don't understand English and stop the fight. He couldn't even close out the fight. Giovanni got closed out, bro. Now, he did stop Ramon Villa. I give Ennis credit. He did break him down. But the difference between Villa and freaking Giovanni was goddamn Supermaning. It has all the material for a good fight. For Ennis, for Norman, I hope they make something happen from today to the goddamn weekend. I really hope this fight don't fall through. Seriously, I really hope this fight don't fall through, man. I really don't. It's so much potential to this fight. I really hope it doesn't fall through. Real talk. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Jay, Streets, but they don't want to pay or give credit. Nasty work. Um, why top rank not made Boots Mushroom off the fight on a top rank card? I mean, because you have to look at, you know, who's taking the lead in this promo. Is it Matchroom? That's that I don't really get in the numbers. I don't. I say this all the time. Every now and then I'll speak on it. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the business, it's just something. If you're on the outside looking in and you don't freaking know what the numbers are, I can do is provide me an assessment. And I always use this, and it's a damn good example. I say To wasn't in no better position than any one of these fighters with Norman Jr. Except he beat Richard Comey. He had the title eliminator. He beat Masayoshi Nakatani and beat Richard Comey in the ring. Stopped him in the second round. Then he goes into the negotiation and held firm on Lomachenko and got his $2 million. This is similar. They both have belts. No, they didn't beat anybody in the ring, but they do have belts on them, and they're going for a unification and a hot division. So that kind of balances out the negotiation process pretty well. That doesn't mean one fighter should get way less, as if it's an A side, B side anthem, and then Boots has did so much more than Norman. The only thing he did more than Norman is receive his belt last year. That's all. That's all that is. That's all that is. Him fighting Avanesians, nobody talking about that fight. Like I said before, if they want to look at Giovanni's fight and Avanesian, they have a choice. They're always going to go to the Giovanni fight. Even Ramon Villa, I didn't see the, all the dancing around with Ramon Villa and all this other shit. It wasn't as entertaining as a Giovanni fight. That's where I'm at with it. Streets on deck, man. Mr. International Toby Bartlett is in the building. Salute to across the pond, man. Bud Gun Stop Canelo, what's good? He said Eddie was willing to overpay Martin. He's not confident that Boots win that fight. Good point, man. Good point. Good point. Hannibal on deck, what's good? He said Tank shouldn't be pound for pound. Boots definitely not. He was dissing Boots before he signed it. Yeah, man. Come on, man. We got people in here. Hey, what they say is talking. Hey, it's people that's been out here listening. The streets are talking, bro. The streets are talking. The only, yes, they are. That's why boxing need this fight. They only like us when it benefits them. Look at the energy he's been having with Crawford. Yeah, man. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, that's been hanging around Hearns long enough understands that this dude will big up a fighter that he has under his umbrella now. If you're under the umbrella, he's going to protect you from being rained on. He's going to shower you with all the love and sunshine that you can get. Sign to him, he has no reason to big you up. Period. No reason at all to big you up. And he's going to say, who is this? Who is this? No one knows of him. We gave him a bucket. Look, here emphasize the beat. The bucket. We gave him a bucket. We gave him a massive. He just hit you with the and the and make it seem like they gave him a shitload of money. But yeah, that may be a shitload of money for people who don't have nothing going on in their life. You know what I'm saying? 1.5, you ain't walking up out of there with anything special. And we don't know how the fight's going to go. It might turn out to be one of the best fights we've seen this era. You definitely want your mental blade to be sharp, walking up out of there like, I feel good. I got my first million, in my first fight, defending my title. That's what it's about. I'm good. I feel real invigorated. My heart's good. My breathing's good. My pulse fine. my blood pressure where it's supposed to be. I'm about to go shopping. I'm about to go shopping out this bitch. Eddie's good at his job 100%. We've seen him at work in the UK for years. He was a cold caller, double glazing salesman at 17-year-old. And if you can sell that, you can sell anything. I told you, Eddie is the best at what he does, bro. You know what I'm saying? I told you, Eddie is the best at what he does. Eddie can talk. If you're a fighter and he has a reason to talk good about you, you sign with him, hey, he's going to give you that love, bro. Selling strawberries at the market in the UK, doing a fight, week build up. Damn, he couldn't sell anything. He was a brilliant. I heard Brian Senior say he knows Eddie is tight with Turkey, and he wants the same of that money. But this is a matchroom card offer, not Riyadh season. Nothing to do with Turk. Good point. Good point, Toby. Good point. It is. It has nothing to do with the Turk. It has nothing to do with the Turk, man. But Eddie does brush shoulders with the Turk. And when you want to talk about money, I mean, 1.5 is nothing to the Turk, but it's something to Team Norman if they're not going over to Riyadh. This fight is not going, it's not supposed to be in Saudi Arabia. It's supposed to be in Philly. That's totally two different budgets. You know what I'm saying? That's totally two different budgets, man. Bam, what's good? All that stuff he's saying about Boots doesn't mean anything if his son doesn't get in the ring and fight him. It's a moot point. All that stuff he's saying that the boot doesn't mean anything if his son doesn't get. You mean Brian don't mean anything? Well, they got to do business. Blue Hustle in the building. What's good with it, Blue? Salute to you, brother. The Only Lee Show. What's good? What's good? I see you in the building. I like this fight. You know, time waits for nobody. Ticking. Sometimes we have to make appointments. I hope this appointment is made, that they come to some type of agreement in the next 48 freaking hours. I do. I mean, I'm not saying the fight is never going to happen. But once again, what looks easy in boxing isn't always easy. Because we seen the shit at 135. You know, we seen the belts all packed in. The payload was in a pack. You know what I'm saying? It was all packed in together. So whoever fought, that champion had all the belts. Then you had 140 where it was like, okay, they end up getting the belts together. So Ramirez and Taylor end up fighting. And then, you know, Spence went and fought Sean Porter, collected the belt. Udinas Ugas. And then finally met Crawford in the end. You know what I'm saying? Then 154, same thing. You know, you had the rematch with Tony Harrison. And then you had the mix up with J-Rock defeating Jerry Hurd. And then J-Rock going over there losing to Jason Rosario. Jason Rosario losing to Charlo. Then he goes and fight Brian Castaño. He comes to a draw with that and then gets it in the rematch. Took a little bit longer, but it happened. The belts wasn't together. They was split, but it ended up happening. This is the division where all the titles are separate. They're in their own sanctioning body, and pretty much there's a champion in each sanctioning body holding that chip. It has yet to consolidate itself yet. That's why to be the first to do it, you become the main event. You know what I'm saying? You can pick up these two titles, then you become the man. Now they start talking about putting you on the pound for pound list. You know what I'm saying? Giving you, walking in there, getting that $3 million payday, $4 million payday. You the man. You know what I'm saying? You can change lives. You can shut it down. You can shut it down. I just hope this shit doesn't end up like the 140-pound division is right now. What happened with Rolly being the weakest champion, being gifted the belt, and then, you know, Isaac Cruz accepted the curse. You know what I'm saying? Then he runs in there with Rayo, who's moving up from the division of 135 and have his history of being stopped by Edwin De Los Santos. He goes in there and beats freaking Cruz. And then Subriel Matias is supposed to be the killer of all killers. You know what I'm saying? He's holding down that belt. and he ended up going in there losing his title. And then the debacle that happened with Haney, the only one that's up there standing strong right now and cement shoes on is Tio. I just hope 147 pound don't lose focus and be in disarray like, the 140 pounds. I just hope the 147 pounds get it together and we get this fight. Seriously. I hope we get this fight, bro. Eddie's a good promoter and talker. That's why he has a Turk in his bag, and he's one of the top promoters. And he has a Turk. He's been doing business over in Saudi for a long time. You have to understand when he started bringing KSI and Logan Paul on deck. You know what I'm saying? Eddie was one of the ones who got that ball rolling. I mean, just think about it. Devin Haney was on the undercard of 2 content creators. Seriously. Of 2 content creators, he was on the card. Eddie just didn't keep on doing it. He just didn't keep on doing it. But he put on KSI and Logan Paul, bro. He handed Logan Paul his first loss. When his brother, look, the crazy part about it, his brother Jake Paul was a non-factor. He fought Gibb on the undercard. He wasn't a non-factor. He wasn't even considered the best boxer. Logan Paul was. So when Logan lost to KSI, he never really got back in the ring, and then came the rise of freaking Jake Paul. And you know how he got his rise? Off a basketball player. You know what I'm saying? A dunk champion. But I just wanted to give you that little bit of history. You know what I'm saying? Eddie's been in the game over there brushing elbows in Saudi for quite some time. Real talk. But I'll be back on a little later. Y'all hold it down. Shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and game. A-Side official. No negotiation needed, period.